much existence that we have. So it's a reminder for me to record this. But so most of the students are here in the Edmonton area, but some have had classes outside of Edmonton and coming from all sorts of places. But we're all on campus bedroom right now, or some people at least.
Yeah.
So who do we got? I'm counting 12 squares. That's 10 of us. Might be a couple more people coming in here. Now, for the screen share, I'm thinking I got to make sure to make you the host.
Okay.
So I will make you a co-host. Do you want to? It should give you that power. I did that now.
Yeah, I should be able to. For some reason, it won't let me share my screen. 1 second.
Right. And we'll, as you figure that out, we're in a moment, we'll just say a prayer. And then I thought it'd be nice to let the students introduce themselves. I know we see all their names, but we can say our name. It's nice to hear. And maybe students, you could say maybe what your major is, where you attended school, something just to give Susan a bit of a sense of our class and your background, something about yourself. You could go off the charts and just do something wild and crazy if you wanted to. All right. So why don't it's 2:01. So we'll get started. So we'll start with a prayer and then we'll start the screen share. All right. So it's good to see you all. So we'll start in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And we'll just take a moment to just collect ourselves. It's the end of the work week, and just to put our concerns and cares, just to let them be, and to be present in the moment in our class. Jesus, you are the master teacher, and we ask you now to inspire us, guide Susan today in her presentation, and our attentive ears and hearts, that we may learn from her and from one another in how to be a better religious educator. We ask this in your name. Amen. Good. All right. So why don't we, students, I'll just go through the list here. Jason, I'll let you say, introduce yourself.
Hi there. So I'm Jason. I live in Leduc, just south of Edmonton. I am a major in mathematics and minor in physical education. I love to watch hockey. My favorite team is Detroit Red Wings, so kind of outside the box there. Okay, better.
You just lost a grade point average right there.
That's okay. And my favorite CFL team is Saskatchewan Roughriders, so I probably lost another one
too. You're gonna be lucky to get a C in this class. Good. Okay, Allison.
Hi, I'm Allie. I'm from Sherwood Park. I'm majoring in foods and minoring in bio and phys ed, so I'm kind of all over the map. I don't have much to say. I have played ringette for most of my life, and I love skating.
I have to disagree with that. Skating's just one of the best things in life. Okay, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I am a bio major, chem minor. I'm from here in Edmonton, and I have a dog named Bentley.
Cool. Dogs, they're a big thing these days. Andrew.
Hi, my name is Andrew. I am also from Edmonton. My major is in kinesiology and my minor is in biology. And I like to play soccer. Good. I teach a course on sport and religion, so I'm really leaning on the sports thing. Sorry, everybody, the non-sports fans. Braden.
My name is Braden. I'm a major in physics and minor in phys ed. And I have 2 cats named Boots and Mittens.
Nice names too. Classic. Lexi.
Hi, my name's Lexi. I'm majoring in French, minoring in humanities, and I cheer on the U of A cheer team.
Hmm. Oh, that's interesting. Cool. Victoria.
Hi, I'm Victoria. My major is bio and my minor is math. I'm living in Edmonton right now, and I actually also played ringette for my whole life pretty much. So.
Cool. Nice. Good stuff. Thank you. Adam.
Hi, my name is Adam. I'm a major in biology and I'm a minor in religious ed. Something interesting about myself. I was bored over the summer with quarantine, so I decided to run a marathon, kind of by accident. It's a fun story, but
nice. And you survived to talk about it.
Yeah, and I picked maybe the worst day ever because I just like picked I was like, okay, we'll run it August long, and August long turned into a 35 degree day. So
yeah, that would do it for you. Yeah, that'll fry you.
It was cool though. Like I rather enjoyed it.
Good. Sierra?
Yeah, my name's Sierra. I live in Edmonton. My major is English and my minor is bio, and I'm learning how to snowboard this season.
Ooh, daring. Nice. Maria?
Okay. Hi, my name is Maria. I'm in my 4th year of education. My major and minor is pretty weird. Major Japanese, minor in health education. I can speak 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Japanese. I'm currently learning Chinese and I want to learn Korean in the spring and summer term as well. I have 3 cats, an angel cat named Dylan. I call him an angel cat because he passed away in June. Then Charlie and Lucas. I want to get another cat in the future.
Okay, good, Maria. Thank you. Good. Thanks. We love those animals. Dalen. Sorry.
I'm downstairs right now. But yeah, my name is Jada Lynn. I'm majoring in art, minoring in social studies. And the art that I do is I do portrait art and realism as well as conceptual art. And yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That sounds awesome. Okay. Thank you, Jada Lynn. And then we got Peter left.
Hi, my name is Peter. I'm majoring in social studies, minor in CTS business. I grew up here in Edmonton, and I grew up playing hockey through the Knights of Columbus system here in Edmonton all throughout my life.
Nice. KFC. Thanks, Peter. And this is our guest speaker, Susan Kaup. I know that Susan has a couple things to share about her family that we'll see, but Susan and I met a few years ago. You were a principal. No, I'm trying to think what school you. It was an What school was that at? Because you came to the college.
It was. That's right. We did youth school.
Yeah.
With my grade 9 class a few years in a row through St. Catherine's School.
That's right. And so we met there, but you
a whole group.
And you were a student at St. Joe's.
I did take most of I have a double minor in religion, so I did a lot of my religion courses at St. Joe's.
Okay, cool. I just thought that was neat. Okay, good. So thanks for coming in and to share about religion, teaching religious education, and with your background, I guess, from there, and then also working as a religious ed consultant for secondary schools in Edmonton Catholic. So thanks for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm super excited. It's not very often that I get to present to students, future teachers. So I'm really excited to be here today. Hopefully I can get my technology to work. It's not allowing me so much to share my screen. So I'm not sure if you have access to the PowerPoint or not.
Okay, I just clicked. I have multiple participants can share simultaneously. So that should try it again now.
Okay. Here we go. Perfect. Okay. So I'll do that. Hopefully you can see that.
Yeah,
right.
This is all working. This is perfect.
Perfect. Yep. Awesome. Awesome. So I'll just get started and I'll go through some information quickly, and then there should be quite a bit of time at the end for you to ask any questions that you have. So again, thank you for having me. I'm an Oilers fan and an Edmonton Eskimo fan, but many of my family cheer for other teams. Some of them cheer for Saskatchewan, which much to my detriment. I don't know where I went wrong as a parent, but they don't cheer for Edmonton. But it's exciting to hear about all the different subjects that you're taking, all the sports, animals. As you can see here, this is my family, and my husband and I have been together, married for 27 years. We have 4 children together. You might have noted I omitted the word wonderful that a lot of people use when saying how many children they have. They're pretty wonderful people. They're amazing, actually. But living with 4 mostly adults during COVID hasn't always been wonderful. Let me tell you, we're all working from home, going to school from home. It's a little bit much sometimes. So I kind of get how this gets a little bit overwhelming for sure. My oldest daughter is currently taking a course through the Faculty of Extension. She has a diploma from Grant MacEwan in early learning. My 2 boys are in university. One of them is in his first year of engineering, and so it's been interesting for him to navigate this whole online stuff to do his first year. It's been a bit tough for him. And the second son, my oldest son, is in his last year of university. So kind of a little bit different spectrum there. And my youngest daughter's in grade 11. My 2 dogs that you see on the picture there, Oliver and Louie, they've gotten super spoiled during COVID because everyone's home all the time and they're just used to getting whatever they want anytime. It's been a little bit crazy. They bark at everything, so I'll apologize in advance. As soon as somebody walks by the house or the garage door opens, they go crazy. So I apologize if that's a bit of a pain. So a little bit about myself. I've been a teacher for 25 years, mostly as a junior high classroom teacher, and I mostly worked in inner city type schools, but I have taught for several years in elementary and junior high as well. The last 4 years, I've been the religion curriculum consultant. I attended the U of A with a major in French, minor in social studies, and a double minor in religious studies. And I got my first job kind of halfway through the start of the year, so mid-September, with Edmonton Catholic right out of university. Now, I've taught so many subjects in my teaching career, some that I would say I was probably very qualified to teach, but a lot that I didn't really at the time feel, or maybe even still feel that I was qualified to teach. I've taught FSL, home ec, of which I really didn't have a lot of training, gym, of which I have 0 training, math, ELA, social, religion, and music, which was one that I really didn't want to take on because I had 0 musical training, but it ended up being one of the best things I taught. So I never thought that I would teach some of these subjects, and I wasn't super excited to take some of them on, but I did learn a lot from them. Many years ago, many years later, I went back to school. I got my master's in religious education through Newman Theological College. Sometimes I toy around with the idea of getting a doctorate, but honestly, doing my master's, I was a much different student going in later in life. Everything had to be perfect, unlike my university where, you know, average grades were good with me. I was much more interested in other things, but as an adult, I definitely expected a lot more out of myself. I don't think I can put myself through that again. So I have a lot of respect for people who have their doctorate because I know how much work it is or can be. Now I'm a consultant and I work quite closely with the superintendent, and you know, it's just been such an amazing career. Honestly, I have to say I'm one of those people, I get up and I'm excited to go to work. It hasn't always been that way. There's a lot of years in there where, you know, there's just so much put on you as a teacher, but in the last 10 years, probably I can honestly say that I wake up and am excited to go to work. So that's always a real bonus. So that's just a little bit about me. Matt asked me to speak to the programs of studies, which I'd like to take a little bit of time to do and share some other of my broader work with teachers and what their experiences are. So I'll begin. If you have some questions, again, there'll be some time at the end. This year, for grade 7 and 8, I'll start with grade 7 and 8 anyway. We'll kind of work progressively through the grade levels and the program levels. But grade 7 and 8, this year we implemented a new religion program for grade 7 called Growing in Faith, Growing in Christ. It was developed in Ontario's Catholic schools and was adopted with a few subtle changes here in Alberta. Many of our resources for religion anyway begin this way. They're rooted, kind of developed in Ontario because of the large population and the demand there, and then adopted in Alberta with a few changes. They go through an approval process through our Council of Catholic Superintendents, as well as the bishops of Alberta. Without the bishop's approval, nothing would be taught here in Alberta. So everything goes through a very rigorous glance, and it has to have that stamp of approval by the bishop. All of our resources are actually blessed by our Archbishop. So when we get them in the warehouse, he comes and does this huge blessing of the program of studies. And then those resources are shipped out to the school, which is kind of a cool thing, actually. For the past several years, this program was introduced starting in grade 1. So we're in the grade 7 stage. And next year, or I guess in September, we'll be introducing the grade 8 program. The program overall was quite well received, but it's been a much more robust program than teachers are used to. So if you're familiar with the old Be With Me program for grade 7 or Stand By Me, which is the current program for grade 8, they're good programs, but they're not very content-rich programs. Growing in Faith, Growing in Christ is a very content-rich program. And it's a little bit daunting for teachers, I have to say. They've had a lot of concerns about teaching it because they didn't feel that maybe their background in Catholicism was enough to teach the program. But there are some professional learning segments included with the resource that have been really helpful, as well as our division does a lot to put on a number of professional development sessions throughout the year. We try to make sure we connect with beginning teachers at the beginning of the year and kind of touch base throughout the year. But at any time, anybody working in our division has access to the consultants. So we offer, gosh, hundreds and hundreds of programs every year for teachers. One of the cool things about this program is we are noticing that our students, as they are now in grade 7, have a very rich and deep understanding of Catholic teaching because of this program. So that's kind of a cool thing. The program is not daunting for them because they've gone through it from grades 1 to 7 now, grade 8 next year. So there is still some apprehension from teachers, but it makes them feel a lot more comforted knowing that it's not overwhelming for the students, I guess. Now, I think all of you, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys all have access to the Pearson resources and the online digital pieces?
Yes, we do. Yeah. And it's the students have access. They know where to get it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So every program is the same. If you've looked through them, there are 5 units in each program. They all begin with an essential learning or an essential understanding type question, and they're finished with an inquiry-based project. They all follow that, and they've done that deliberately so there's consistency from grades 1 through grade 8. The grade 9 program is a little bit different. The current resource is the Be With Me. As I was saying before, our resources are usually developed in Ontario first, but in Ontario, grade 9 is actually part of high school. So currently in Ontario, there are no plans to develop high school resources. So Pearson is not planning a grade 9 program, which much to the detriment of our grade 9 teachers, they're very sad about that because the grade 9 program does need some updating for sure. But there was some work here in Alberta a few years ago. I was included in a group of educators that got together and we looked at updating this resource. And so we've created a pilot program that's being used at about, I want to say 3 or 4 of our junior high schools this year. They're not sure if it'll be implemented next year or the year after. It still has to go through kind of a rigorous testing process and has to go through the bishops. One of our main bishops for education is Bishop McGrattan down in Calgary. So he's kind of the bishop of, I get the representative of education and everything to do with education. So he has to kind of go through some of those, but there is hope that we'll have something new, but it follows along with this textbook. If we were to create something completely different, it would take years and years. And when we look at the work that Pearson has done and the number of people and the money that they've had to do it, I'm just not sure it would really be possible here. But that's kind of where we're at with the grade 9 resource. There are about 10 units in this book. It's not a really rigorous program academically. The concepts aren't really strong Catholic teachings, I would say, but it does demand some background knowledge on the part of the teacher. One of the main themes that kind of is carried throughout is the Beatitudes. It's a huge part of the grade 9 programs, and like I said, it kind of goes throughout every chapter. It's always the focus. And so things like, how do we live the Beatitudes in our day-to-day encounters? What are the differences between the 10 Commandments and the Beatitudes? All of that is kind of the focus of the grade 9 program. If you secure a junior high teaching position, regardless of the grade, you will almost probably teach religion, because all homeroom teachers teach at least one class of religion in junior high. Sometimes, not often, there is a junior high specialist or the chaplain. We have chaplains in our school, so sometimes they take on an extra course or two and somebody doesn't have to teach it, but almost always you will have to teach religion. So our high school religion programs, 15, 25, 35, and Religions of the World 35. We offer these 4 religion courses, and they can be taken either for 3 or 5 credit. Many of our schools offer the 3 credit. We don't always have a lot of uptake on the 5 credit, but some of our high schools do offer the 5 credit as well. Again, chances are really high that if you're teaching in high school, as a new teacher, you will almost guaranteed be teaching one course of religion, maybe a couple, religion 15 usually. They save the 25 and 35 and Religions of the World 35 for more experienced teachers because they are a little bit more content heavy, but the religion 15 is seen as, I don't know if I want to say a schedule filler, but it is kind of a schedule filler for students, or sorry, for teachers who are just starting in high school. And so you might be teaching, 7 blocks of ELA or biology or math or whatever have you, and you'll have your 1 block of religion, which is the reality in a lot of our high schools today. The resources that are used, Religion 15 is Christ in Culture, Religion 25 is generally, there's another resource, but this is the more popular one, Jesus of History, Christ of Faith. Religion 35 is In Search of the Good, and Religions of the World 35 is called World Religion. So one really important thing about a high school religion is that the courses are taught non-consecutively, which really means that they can be taken in any order at any time. Students can make that decision for what fits their schedule best. One of these courses is not a prerequisite for the other, and they're not prescribed like they are in junior high, where grade 7, it's grade 7 religion, grade 8, so on. In high school, you can take them at any time. And another important thing about our high school religion is that throughout our schools, religion is a core subject and has to be taken at every level. But in high school, what this means is that to cross the stage, at the end of grade 12, when they're graduating, in order to participate, I guess, in grad ceremonies is probably a better way to put it. A student must have a minimum of 9 credits in religion by the end of grade 12. The credits for these courses can be earned throughout their time in high school, can be earned in summer school, or they do Revelations Online, which is their online programming, but you have to have 9 credits. Again, with all other core subjects, you're probably in your other courses studying that there's usually a program of studies and then there's resources to use. With junior high religion, the program of study is the resource. So what we use to teach or to derive the learning outcomes from is the Be With Me textbook, is the Growing in Faith, Growing in Christ. If we don't like the resource, we can't use another resource, because that's our program of study. That is actually where all of our teaching comes from. In high school, it's a little different in that there is a program of study and there are resources to use, but the resources have to accompany the program of study. So if we don't like the Christ in Culture textbook, let's say, because it's not very contemporary, it's about 20 some years old, there's some talk about maybe updating it. But if we don't like it, we can't use another resource to teach it. Whereas in other subjects, there's a lot more leniency. A lot goes into having these resources approved by the bishops, and so we can't deviate from that. So I know that is a bit of a source of, I don't want to say contention, but a little bit difficult for some teachers to accept, because with other subjects, you can use other resources, but with religion, we really discourage that. So just a little bit of fun stuff here. So honestly, my experiences as a religion teacher have always been really quite positive, aside from some apprehension here and there. And one of the benefits for me is, as a Catholic and a practicing Catholic, being able to live out my faith at school. Again, this doesn't mean there weren't challenges. Believe me, every year in my 25 years, there has been some kind of obstacle to overcome. But, you know, something I really realize now, looking back, that I don't think I really had enough experience in, was knowing the curriculum well enough. I didn't know my outcomes well enough. I didn't know my program from start to finish. I had my plan, but I didn't really know what I was asking of myself, or what the program was asking me, or what I was asking of my students to do. So that's something I think is really important, is to know your programs of studies. Sometimes when we secure employment, you know, it happens so quickly that you don't even have time to fully review everything before you start teaching. And you add to that, you know, we're teaching courses maybe we're not familiar with, they're not comfortable with. We have classrooms to set up, we have paperwork, lessons. Many of my years was spent teaching in inner city classrooms and teaching a high degree of Indigenous and ELL students. Nobody ever prepared me for that. And so it takes a lot of time to figure out what do my students need? I'm a huge believer in teaching the students in front of you. So I'm not the kind of teacher who uses the exact same program or the exact same lessons from year to year. I really try, I mean, you use content because that doesn't usually change, but how you do it sometimes differs from year to year. So, you know, you kind of thrown in baptism by fire, I guess, but you learn a lot, and you learn a lot about the strength and resiliency that you have, for sure. For many teachers, a lot of the teachers I work with, though religion is a core subject, it's kind of an afterthought. As I said, especially in high school, where you're only teaching one class of religion and a whole bunch of something else, sometimes religion kind of gets, I don't want to say falls by the wayside, but it doesn't get as much attention as maybe it needs to have. And sometimes it's treated that way by a lot of the staff in the school too. So, you know, if it's used as a filler, then you're not really requiring people that teach it to be subject specialists, like you might in biology or mathematics or language arts or English. So a lot of people don't feel like they're very confident in teaching religion. A lot of the teachers I work with, it's honestly the constant pressure for them of saying something wrong, and now with this whole everything's online, posting something and having it out there for people to see, it can be really daunting. So you're not alone in feeling apprehension that way. It's not always an easy job. Some of our teachers are, you know, they're not practicing Catholics. Some don't believe in the teachings of the church. Those are real concerns, and they have to be addressed. And while I think that most teachers have to learn to be comfortable in teaching religion, it does take some time. And a lot of that comfort comes with being prepared and asking for help when you need it. Having said that, there are so many rewards in teaching religion. I mean, I love teaching in general. I think I've always been called to be a teacher. When I was little, I used to sit and make my brother and my cousins sit by. At that time, we had these little blackboards with chalk, and it was the coolest thing to make them listen and you know, learn the ABCs, or I would teach them French because I was always interested in French. So I always taught myself words. So I knew at a young age I wanted to be a teacher. I truly loved my students, especially my time at St. Catherine's with my ELL students. It was just one of the most amazing experiences. Sometimes you have that kind of experience in your teaching career, and you know, it's like a once in a lifetime kind of experience. I was really privileged to have. I know I've made a difference in their lives. A lot of them still keep in touch today, even though we've not seen each other for years and years. So I know I've done something good there. Sometimes you'll be asked to teach something you don't want to teach. I wish I could say that wasn't true, but unfortunately, just because you want to teach grade 8 language arts doesn't mean you're going to get a grade 8 language arts position. You're going to be asked to teach everything under the sun. That's how I ended up teaching grade 1 to 6 music when I'm a secondary trained person. So it does happen, but you know, I truly believe that the best things happen when you move out of your comfort zone, and you get the best experiences when you do something that you think will be really terrible and you just jump in there and you give it a shot. I really think that's been some of the best experiences I've had, actually. When we talk about things like love or kindness or mercy that are really at the heart of gospel, I think as a religion teacher, I got to witness these firsthand by teaching religion and getting to know my students on a different level, away from the mathematical or the English, or is just sharing faith, whether they were believers or non-believers. We were able to share some really meaningful experiences in religion class. Lastly, I just want to say that in our division, we do offer a lot of beginner teacher support throughout the year, as well as a lot of teacher support in general. We have probably about 35 core religion, I would say curriculum consultants, including our inclusive learning team. And they are all there for you. That's what they do. And so don't feel like you can't reach out, but I have to say they won't come looking for you. So we host our beginner sessions throughout the year, but aside from that, you don't get emails all the time saying, hey, you know, we're looking, how are you doing today? You need to reach out if you're having issues, and you need to ask for help, and they will help you. That's their job. And that's what they're really passionate about doing. I kind of anticipated this might be something that you wanted to hear a little bit about. I'm not a human resources person. I don't sit on the hiring team any longer. So I just kind of pulled off what was on the internet, but I thought I'd put it out there for you. There have been some changes over the years, so some of these you're probably very familiar with. In applying to Edmonton Catholic schools, everyone's asked to complete a faith formation plan. And so that replaces what we used to have as the pastoral reference that used to be required for employment. The faith formation plan offers an exchange of dialogue or reflection and action that are unique to each teacher and to your faith journey. I put the link there that you can access, and I know you'll have access to this PowerPoint afterwards, as well as I'll put my contact information out there if you need anything further. You also require a baptismal certificate, and though religious education courses are preferred, they're not actually a condition of working with Edmonton Catholic schools or being hired. They do become important when you're trying to get a continuous contract. So in order to get a continuous contract, you'll have, this changes a little bit from year to year, but this year currently we're at, you need to have 400 teaching days or 2 full-time contracts. You also need to have 2 evaluations by your admin team in your school that you're working at. And that's recommended to have 2, there's usually more, but usually 2 prior to recommending for permanent certification. You'll need a pastoral reference. So you need to be involved with a church. You need to be an active member of a church. And as of September 2003, in order to be considered for a continuous contract, they made a change that all teachers must have completed for a continuous contract a course in Catholic Theological Foundations and a course in religious education methodology. A lot of students do them in their 4-year degree or 5-year degree, what have you, but some people go back to take them if they haven't done them in order to get a contract. The St. Joseph's College certificate that I was speaking to Matt about earlier is considered a real asset in our division. And once you've secured a continuous contract, you would be eligible for higher learning. So our division promotes and pays for a great deal of a master's program like the one that I went to at Newman Theological College. So there are some really great opportunities and just job security in general with having a continuous contract for sure. Currently, I checked with our human resource department yesterday, and currently they are hiring. They are hiring for regular teachers, regular teaching positions, as well as French immersion. So if you are graduating this year and you haven't been able to get your application together, I would suggest you do that. It's quite competitive this year. There are a lot of people looking for positions. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Hopefully I spent enough time on everything and didn't talk too fast. Hopefully my internet was working. It's always hard to tell if it's frozen or not. But I really encourage you at any time, whether you're a teacher, beginner teacher, or a student, and you just want to reach out and have some questions, please feel free to contact me. My email is on the screen there. I have zero problems with you reaching out to ask questions. I think I really encourage that actually, because I think if you're taking time to do that, you're definitely going to be a much more dedicated educator. So thanks so much. And I will stop sharing my screen and leave it open to some questions.
Thanks so much, Susanna. And thanks for your generous offer that students can reach out to you. That's very kind of you. And thanks. You covered a whole heck of a lot in 20 minutes. So that was wonderful. And the stories I think will, they're insightful, but I think it's encouraging too for these young, energetic, diehard students. Good. Now, I'm wondering if anybody I know people have questions for Susanna. So I'm going to open the floor here, and whoever would like to ask a question first.
This is what happens in my classrooms too.
I can start it off.
Thank you very much.
So we just read the Go and Make Disciples document just this last week, and there is talk about the assessment part. Is there like a standardized weighting for how you assess knowledge versus critical thinking versus incorporation of faith, or is it more just up to the teacher?
There are recommended percentage or weightings, but generally we kind of leave it up to the teacher. There's not a prescribed weighting. And every school, once you are part of a school environment, every school, especially in high schools, will have a department head, and that department head usually sets forth the weighting so that it's consistent in the school, but it's not consistent in our division. So it's general, if that makes sense, it's generally consistent. Everyone kind of does the same thing, but high schools especially are very, they like to do their own thing and they like to do it well. So they kind of decide on their own without, that's not something that I would decide for them, I guess. Is that kind of what you were asking?
Yeah, no, that was good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Susan, how do you find in general? Do you put it with Ari? Would you put more emphasis on critical thinking or just more kind of basic knowledge in content? What is your thought on that?
There has to be a balance of both, really. But, I think one of my aims as a teacher was always to emphasize critical thinking and not just, I mean, we want to inform, we want to give background, we want to give context to what we're teaching in class. But I think we're always looking for a way to create a discerning learner, someone who's going to pick something apart, because that's how really you learn. And that's how I've always learned. That's how I've always taught my students to learn, was to really try and pick something apart. And that means that sometimes they ask difficult questions and they question things that you're probably questioning as a teacher yourself. Mm-hmm. And there's a real honesty and humility that comes with not knowing the answer, not knowing what's right all the time. And so, especially when we look at things like sensitive issues, I say, if you're not sure, say you're not sure, because students, I assume most of you have done a practicum or two. Students call BS pretty quick if they know that you're not genuine. So if you're not sure, say you're not sure, and then you'll help them find an answer. But I think the critical thinking part for me always weighs a little more heavily.
Yeah, I always find in religion it's life's biggest questions. Like, to think that we have all the answers, nobody does, and so I'm with you there, to be critical and engage the topic and think about it, but to think this is more of a lifetime endeavor, wondering about these things and questioning them and understanding. It's kind of neat. It's like you said earlier, it's learning at a different level in a different way with your students than maybe in math or biology.
One of the interesting things that's come out of my experience with English language learners, which really is a huge passion of mine, is that a lot of our immigrant students come to us. We think, I have this class that I'm teaching, and in November and then again in February, I get all these ELL learners. Some are at level 1, some are at level 4. Some have never been in a school before or very little. And what am I going to do? But the one common thing that I found is that they all come to us with such an inherent faith, like it's such a deep faith life, but they don't know the words. So, when we spend time teaching them the words to our prayers, or the words to different things they might see at church, it really, your connection to those students really, it's just such a meaningful connection, I guess, what I want to say. So, they're the first ones who, they're taught to believe this is what you believe. And if you don't believe it, you're not a Christian. And so as soon as you start introducing the idea that they can be critical, they can question things, it's very shocking to them. But as they become more comfortable and you develop more of a relationship, it's like this brightness goes on that they just feel so empowered, I guess. So it's been, I have to say, that's probably one of my favorite things about teaching, is teaching English language learners. And I guess teaching in schools where students are considered more marginalized, that's really been an amazing experience. One that I never would have thought I would have had or appreciated.
Isn't that neat? We talked about in class, just with immigration levels, that's kind of what's kept religious numbers higher in Canada, is because a lot of immigrants are religious, whatever, Catholic, whatever background. So that's cool. Neat how it works out in practice in the school. How about somebody else for a question? Thanks for that, Ali. Someone else?
I had a question, actually. How do you find teaching religion experientially? Because I found in a lot of the schools I was in and just going through school, I found religion class to be something that was kind of taught in a very uninspired way. And so as a result, it was very, the student response was rather apathetic. Have you found in your own practice, and I'm assuming teaching as as being a practicing Catholic and having passion for that, has that been something you found students really want to really want to engage with and really actually want to wrestle with things, or is it just something they put off and keep at arm's length because that's what cool kids do?
Yeah, Adam, that's such a good question. And I think you put it so accurately. So many students have had the experience of going to religion class, and you sit there through a 30-page PowerPoint, and the teacher's not really inspired, and they don't deviate from, this is what I have to tell you. I guess there's a few things that come to mind when I heard you ask that question. Was one, I think as a teacher, regardless of what you're teaching, you have to be the source of energy for your students. I mean, you have to inspire your students, and that means you have to be inspired. If you go to class and regardless of what you teach, if you truly don't believe it or don't like it, you're going to pass that on to your students. So either you have to be really good at faking it, which is not ideal, or you really have to buy into it and believe in it yourself. And I guess I've been lucky in that I've always really embraced faith and religion and teaching religion. So that part of it was a little bit easier to me. But I see this day in and day out. One of my pet peeves, I guess, is that I talk with teachers often about showing movies in religion class. My daughter, a couple years ago, had 6 films that they watched in religion class, in religion 15. And so I like movies. I like watching movies. But if you're using movie as a filler because you don't really like teaching it, and I know that some of the teachers she had didn't enjoy teaching religion, this was kind of an easy thing for them to do, you sort of lose that connection with your kids. I think if you keep it real, you do your best to be enthusiastic. And, we all have things that we're not enthusiastic about, but be honest about it. Because if you're questioning something, chances are your students are questioning it too. And they just want to hear that you're a real person and that you have real concerns with teaching whatever it is that you're teaching. Now, having said that, I'm not saying you should go into class and say, oh, I hate this. And, I don't think anybody, this happened to my child one day. The teacher must have been having a bad day. He went into class and said, I don't think anybody should have to take religion in high school. And she came home and told me, she's like, Mom, my teacher said, because kids do this, doesn't matter what age they are. My teacher said that he doesn't think anybody should have to take religion in high school. And I'm going, oh my gosh, don't tell me this. I'm the religion consultant. I know your teacher. And, it's a brand new teacher and it's overwhelming for your teacher. I get it. But you're teaching in a Catholic school. Probably don't want to go into class saying that. Yeah, but it happens, but it is challenging. And so I think first and foremost, as a teacher, you have to look at whatever you're teaching as, how would I want to learn? What would make me excited to learn? And if you can turn it around that way, I think you make a better teaching experience for your students. And, the more often you can give them real life experiences, whether it be through, we don't do field trips necessarily anymore, especially through COVID, but showing snippets of videos, which I strongly encourage. There's a lot of different tours that you can go on of the Holy Land or the Vatican now that you can explore all this through COVID. I really encourage that. I think you capture their attention. But I think the most important thing that all of you can do, no matter what you're doing, that I think is the gift of religious education, is to develop a relationship with your students in which is based on mutual respect. Students know who they can go to in a school and who they can rely on to be honest. And, that's, I think, a relationship that all teachers maybe strive to achieve. Some get it and some get it better than others. But I think that's what really adds to that experience of religion class, is developing a human relationship with your students. Does that answer your question, Adam?
Yeah, actually, the point about relationships is really interesting because Pope Francis talks about that a lot. He talks about exactly like building faith through relationships and like that being the actual ground for faith.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things in a lot of the leadership classes that I've taken myself is relationship is at the heart of everything. And with your colleagues, I mean, high schools, I would say I've taught at all the levels. High schools are a little bit of an anomaly because when high school teachers create materials, they kind of think they own it. It's like their own, my precious, they kind of, it's theirs. But everyone else that I've worked with, especially in elementary, are very good about sharing resources. And you'll notice that, right? Like you'll go into a high school or to whatever school you teach, and as a new teacher, usually everybody's pretty generous with you, but it's it's about developing those relationships with people. And so the more you develop those relationships, the more people kind of work together. I've been in schools where people didn't work together very well. And I've been in schools where we were one big family and we taught that way. And our kids knew us that way. And so, I don't want to say those experiences are rare. It's really what you put into it. And it takes a lot of work. When I switched over to St. Catharines, my first year there, it took me till about February to finally feel like I was making a connection with people. But it was very deliberate work every single day. I'd go into the staff room. I made a point, even though I wasn't very comfortable, I felt like a bit of an outsider. I went into the staff room every morning and greeted people. I tried to have my lunch as often as possible for the 10 minutes I had in the staff room. I hung around after school. I talked with people. I asked questions. I started hosting a Friday morning before school coffee chat where people would come, and I made coffee in my classroom, and I like to bake, so I would make like muffins or whatever. It was very deliberate, but I have to say, as more and more people started coming, there was really a change in that staff. And we all started to work together, even though we didn't always see eye to eye over certain issues, we worked together. So relationships are really, I think, they can't be emphasized enough.
That, I completely agree with you. I think it really gets down to the ethos of a Catholic school, that the heart of it is, in a lot of ways, is the staff and those relationships amongst the staff. But we're up against the clock. I'm wondering if a couple students could just name something that really struck them, or something that they're going to take away from Susan's sharing today. Something that you wrote down and you circled or underlined that really you're going to remember about this, just so she gets to hear that. It's part of our thank you for her.
I liked how religious education was scaffolded throughout the grades, so even as it gets more complex throughout junior high and high school, students can still have a really good foundational understanding going into that content.
Super. Yeah, good. Thanks, Sierra. That is a good point. Someone else? As somebody is saying, I'm still going to get one more person, but I want to say my own personal thanks. Thanks, Susan, for just the overview of the program, but sharing your experiences and your passion for teaching and passion for religious ed, and being honest and frank about, it's not perfect and what goes on in the schools, but really holding teaching religion is something special, and it can be so impactful within a school and connections with students.
Oh, you're welcome. No, this was really wonderful. It's a nice change in my day, and I really enjoyed being here. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
And I mean it. If any of you think of something or have a question afterwards, please feel free to email me. We can chat over video. We can chat over email. I'm always happy to chat. I've been stuck at home for a long time, so I talk a lot. And I'm Italian, so I talk a lot.
That's fabulous. One more thought from a student in our class.
I like the part about knowing your curriculum. I think that's actually one of the things that they don't emphasize enough, because without a really solid understanding of your curriculum, you can't plan for the different learning styles and what the kids actually need. So I do think that was your best point, and I really thank you for that.
Excellent. Well, let's end with that. So thanks for that, Ali. And again, thanks so much. And class, I guess we'll see you online over the next week, and we'll see you next Friday. All right. We have a tradition in this class. It's embarrassing, but I make everybody unmute and say goodbye. So we be a little more humane with one another. So if we could do that now. Okay, wonderful. Goodbye. So
Bye,
long.
everyone.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Sorry, I actually had a quick question. Did you find that, because it doesn't have to be taught non-consecutively, did you find that, let's say, a grade 10 student taking a grade 11 or 12 course was beneficial to that student? Because obviously it's kind of, you're changing their peers and who they interact with. Or have you ever had any experience for talking with students? Like, would you maybe suggest, if you have like a very eager religious individual, and you know that, let's say, your grade 11 or 12 class, or is also, there's some individuals like that, like, is it beneficial, or is it more like difficult for them to kind of
that's a really good question, Jason. I think I don't see it very often where students don't take it in sequence, mostly because that's kind of, when you go in to register, the teachers themselves, that's kind of, they think of it as sequential. So, grade 10, they start them off with religion 15, and religion 15 is a little bit of a more gentle entry, I guess, into high school religion. So we almost always see grade 10 students taking religion 15. Where I see a little bit of the difference is depending on what a student wants to do as a career, they sometimes try and get all their religion done because they just want to get it done so they can take more sciences or more ELA, or they kind of switch up the order just based on their interest. It doesn't happen often, but I'd say religion 25 and religions of the world 35, or religion 35, I would say they're all pretty content rich programs. And so taking them in any order, I think would be okay. The part that I think is a little bit that educators and teachers probably have more of a hang up about this than students is having, a grade 10 or 11 student mixed in with mostly grade 12 students because of the confidence level, not because of the ability levels, but because of the confidence level. I think sometimes they feel like maybe that's not a good idea, but in terms of content, I really think they're taking them at any point in time is great. I had really great experiences teaching summer school, actually, and having students come to summer school and take religion through summer school. They've changed it a bit now where you have to get special permission to take religion 15 in summer school, just because it's the first course and it's kind of seen as the entry into high school, more or less, even though technically it's not. But my, religion 25 or 35 students are really, really quite excited about taking religion in summer school. It's condensed, it's a lot of information, but it seems a little bit more real to them. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question, Jason. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Thank you.
Maria, did you have a question, or was it just for me? Oh, I don't think she's there now.
No, maybe frozen or something too.
Yeah, could be that way.
All right, Matt. Thank you
Well,
so much for having me.
Thank you so much. So you don't want to get your PhD, eh?
I think back and I love the experience of getting my master's, but gosh, it was so stressful. My kids were little then too, so that might have added to it a bit.
Oh
but,
man, yeah, I
so
can't see how to do that. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
and I had to always push it. I had to get, A+ or
you're
A
one of
in
those,
everything.
eh? Yeah.
I never used to be, but as an adult learner, I guess I am. It had to be distinction. So.
Well, that's good. Well, if I was thinking that if you're ever thinking of writing something, like they've got the Fully Alive magazine, the ATA RE Council, Moral Ed Council. If you're ever thinking or writing something, I'd be up for just writing something in there with you. About every year I write something,
great.
but it might be neat. I'd like to work. It'd be neat to write something with you just about religious ed in the schools or something. And I publish quite a bit, and I write in there annually. So if you got something that you're really passionate about and you want to write, we could, just someday put that together, you know,
Yeah.
500-700 words, not, you know,
Sure.
wouldn't want to make it too burdensome or anything, but
No,
might be
that's
fun to do.
exciting. I've never done anything like that. So I would be really excited to work on something together for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, just see. Yeah, if it works out and all. So.
Okay, Matt. Thanks so
All
much.
right. Good.
Have a
Thanks
great
again.
weekend. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.